1063 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service, and we are proudly presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Willie, Derek, and I are live at Ascent Buildings at 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. There is a job fair today. Interview and hire on the spot from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Walk in, pre-register at jobnewsnashville.com. Welders, fitters, machine operators, material handlers. If you're looking for work, here is the place to do it. Again, that is 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. And Willie and I, we both live on the east side.
Get a job.
Get a job. Come see us. Get yourself some work. So Willie and I, we both live on the east side of Nashville, so we carpooled up here. We had
fellas.
We had.
Why y'all didn't come and get me? Why y'all didn't tell me y'all?
You're a little out of the way. You're a little out of the way.
You're coming from a slightly different part of town.
Yes, we wouldn't have made it in here. We wouldn't have made it here in time if we had picked you up as well.
But D-Mace, you enjoyed the ride out here, you said.
Okay. I know y'all two have a story, but I just want to
set the scene.
Yeah, I am going to set the scene because I'm going to believe that my drive was totally different from your drive. At least part of it. At least part of your drive was different from my drive. So I've never been to Portland.
Okay.
So I get off the highway, 2-lane highways, make a bunch of turns. But as I'm driving, it just hit me. I just kind of slowed down and just took in all the land, the horses. It was one house that I rode by that I actually wanted to stop, go knock on their door because I wanted to see their backyard because it seemed like their back of their house was sitting up high and it was a cliff. But I couldn't stop thanking God just for what I was looking at. Like, truly.
Yeah.
I had to pause for a minute like that. It was like a 3-minute stretch where I just was like, wow, this is like I just want to stop. Yeah. Skip work and just sit here all day. That's how my drive was.
Now,
my drive was wonderful.
Willie, why don't you tell Derek and all of our listeners how our drive was?
Well, we were having the same experience. Got off the highway, driving down the country road, very peaceful, very scenic, seeing the sights. All of a sudden, we're going through the road's winding towards where we are here. And this enormous bird, I think it was a turkey.
We believe it was a turkey.
We believe it might have been a turkey. Comes up out of the high grass. And he's coming across the road. And he's struggling to get up in the air. He's struggling. He's working hard. He's like, I gotta get higher. I gotta get higher. And he sees us coming. And I'm like, this is going to be close.
Why didn't you just slow down, Adam?
No, I was driving.
Oh, why you didn't just slow down, Willie?
I thought he was going to get out of there. I thought he was going to get up. He couldn't get up. No. And so he clipped our car. He clipped the car. And he made it. Like I looked back behind me. I was like, oh no, did he go down? Like is this because this was a big bird.
Oh man!
I think it was a turkey. Some people who maybe live locally here.
You might clip somebody's turkey, man. Turkey.
I think he might have a sprained MCL on the leg.
Maybe a little bit more.
A PCL.
Maybe a PCL. But Adam was on the passenger side. Adam, can you describe your reaction when there was contact? It was like Adam's on the passenger side, so it clipped the top corner right in front of Adam's head, and he just goes, because you didn't see.
I did not see the buildup. I just heard the impact. There are also some other words that I can't say on the air.
Oh my goodness!
So there might be an injury report locally to the Portland Turkey.
halfback turkey from Portland.
Dustin,
is out.
Dustin from Hopkinsville on our text line, driven by Wilson
Oh,
County
man.
Hyundai.com, says, "Man, it's nice to hear city guys talk about country stuff." LOL. Definitely a turkey. They don't fly far. Best in trees at night. Never get higher than trees or fly far.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, man! Now you done messed up a bird. You done messed up his
Oh,
PCL.
man.
He's out for tonight. He can't
He's
do
out.
it.
He might be out tonight.
He is out.
Oh man!
But-
So
but
if
he
y'all
made it over the road, he's it's safe. Like I was hoping that we didn't have an injured bird. in
It
the
was
middle
a
of the
close call.
night. It was close.
It was a close
so
call.
those that are in Portland, if you by some chance see a
An
hobbled
injured
turkey,
Yeah, help him out.
help him
Help
out.
him out.
A brother need help.
Give him a splint or
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
You got a brace.
yeah.
I don't know.
He's pretty
But
tough to survive that though. 'Cause
he
there,
had
there
to
was
be.
contact. There was contact. It would have been goaltender interference in.
I think turkeys are
hockey.
known to be tough.
Yeah.
Our resident outdoorsman, I guess I should say, Nick Frazier,
Mhm.
says it was probably a turkey buzzard or could have been a turkey buzzard.
I feel like those fly better though.
Yeah, I think
Turkey
that would have
buzzards.
got up out of there.
I think yeah. This guy was struggling to get up in the air.
But
Oh,
That's why.
man.
No,
that's why I didn't
really.
slow down.
Why didn't you just
Well, I
stop?
wasn't going that. I guess I didn't comprehend the flight pattern.
You could have
I
just.
thought he was gone. I thought he
You
was
could
gonna-
have just stopped.
All right,
Like,
I
slow
misread
down.
his trajectory.
Okay, I can see that.
I
Two
thought he was on the
texts.
way up. He was floating. Just couldn't get up higher.
Two
He
texts.
was on the way, but not on the way up.
One texter says, "Better be careful. The Titans may draft that turkey since they like injured players." Weston Clarksville says, "If that turkey is injured, we need him on the Titans." Another texter says, "Willie and Adam practicing for their next turkey hunt for Thanksgiving."
Oh,
man.
man.
Oh man.
Okay.
But we are glad to be here. We hope the
Oh.
turkey is okay.
Yes.
So, a quick update to a story we talked about on Monday. You may recall that the son of the defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons admitted to being the one to prank call Shedeur Sanders on draft day. The NFL announced today that the Falcons have been fined $250,000, and the defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, has been fined $100,000 in response to Ulbrich's son's prank call made to Shedeur Sanders. And I asked this question to Willie on our quiet drive until the very end, of course.
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine your son, your daughter, your child doing something that costs you $100,000?
Whew.
That kid better start mowing as many lawns as he possibly can. And he can't charge $1,000 per lawn.
That kid ain't getting no Christmas gifts ever. I mean, ever. You're not getting a Christmas gift. My grandbabies ain't getting a Christmas gift until that debt is paid off.
There will be no Christmas at the Ulbrich house this December.
Yeah, but rightfully, it's unfortunate that he is being fined, along with the Atlanta Falcons, but it was his son. And this is not a kid, this is a grown adult. And there has to be consequences. Now I know there were more prank calls, but the calls didn't originate from a coach's son's cell phone. That's the big difference. So rightfully so. I'm surprised they wasn't fined even more, but rightfully so. The Atlanta Falcons got fined, and I guarantee you, coach will not leave his iPad lurking around anymore. I tell you that. As a matter of fact, he may not even be able to take his iPad home. They may tell him to keep it in the office.
But just imagine for a moment, the two of you have older sons.
Uh-huh.
If they came home and said, "Dad, I did something bad. It's going to cost you $100,000."
And we can't get out of it.
Whoa, boy.
How would you
I
react?
would have to walk away. I would have
Yeah.
to walk away first. Hopefully his mom's there too. He better pray his mom's there too. Yeah. He better pray she's there. I come back and then we'll talk through it.
Do kids still have lemonade stands, roadside lemonade stands?
He will be doing something.
Glass of lemonade, $100 per glass.
The money will be taken out his savings. We'll get it from somewhere. I will get it from somewhere. But man, as a matter of fact, I might just let him. I would just make him do a bunch of work outside of what he's doing, and never pay him. Just have him come over and do stuff. You know, he's out one night with his homeboys. I just call him, hey, I need the trash taken out. Get home now. Stuff like that. Stuff that irritate him, you know? But yeah, I couldn't imagine. I would believe, I want to believe my son has more sense than that to not prank call or do something to that magnitude that it would cost somebody, you know, monetarily or mentally or physically. So
Yeah.
he's been
now,
okay so
I'm
far.
sure his dad is
Uh-huh.
like, all right, so was it worth it?
Exactly.
Because I'm sure at some point, this kid, before he made the prank call,
Mhm.
he had the idea. He was like, here's how I'm going to do it. Here's who I'm going to impersonate.
Mhm.
Here's when I'm going to call. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's maybe saying this to a buddy or something, but do you think at any point the question was asked, well, what's the worst thing that could happen?
I'm sure that did not cross his mind.
What if we get caught? What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, you owe $100,000.
Yeah, you owe $100,000 and you may not. And if I'm Atlanta, I am not allowing him in the building. I'm just not. You
Well,
know?
he probably hurt his chances of having a job in
Exactly.
football.
I'm like,
anytime
I'm
soon.
not allowing you in my building.
You better change his name.
Yeah, you
something.
can't take that iPad home. Give it to me. Check it in when you leave this. When you leave the building, check it into that little bin right there.
He
You can
needs
pick
one
it
of
up.
those bags that you have to put your phone in at certain performances where it locks and it doesn't reopen until after the show is over. He
Exactly.
needs one of those. Kevin said the prank got a lot less funny after $350,000.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, I hope it was worth it. I hope he
Yeah.
got a good laugh out of it. Again, a prank call, it's harmless, but this must be the first time anyone has ever been fined a combined $350,000 for making a prank phone call.
Well,
Connor
that was a
Orr,
costly one.
Connor Orr and Albert Breer were talking about this on
Uh-huh.
their podcast, the MMQB, and they were talking about, did you ever do a prank call where you ordered pizza for somebody on your street and just were hanging out outside, you know, throwing the ball around just to wait for the pizza guy to go up to the neighbor just to see? So,
I've done that I've done that in college.
Yeah. so
Or
again,
into
it's
my
like,
room, my homeboy's
what's-
room.
and then you act like you don't know what's on, even though you're kind of peeking and just
Uh-huh.
watch your neighbor go that you don't like, just go crazy. I didn't order any pizza. I don't have any money. I can't pay for these. Who did this?
I think I was
And
born.
you're in there throwing the ball. I don't. Sorry, hey,
I think I was born past the time when prank calls were something that you
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
But I've seen enough old television shows. Of course, The Simpsons is famous
Mm-hmm.
for prank calls. Bart prank calling Mo Sizlak, but even like your Full Houses and such, where it's like, is your refrigerator running? Well, you better go catch it. $100,000 fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you do have to ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen if we get caught?
I don't think
Well.
he said that though. I don't think that even came across his head. That did.
Well,
What is the worst that can happen to me?
Matt on our
Never thought
text
about
line says, forget Christmas gifts. My kids aren't even getting invited home for Christmas after that.
Wow, just 100,000.
Hole in the stock.
Ooh, man. Whew.
Somebody wants to know what the fine is for hitting a turkey.
oh, I don't know.
Oh,
I hope we don't find out.
yeah.
That turkey had a family,
Yeah.
perhaps. One
It's a tough turkey.
One
He made
texter
it.
said it's
He made
mating
it.
season, so maybe they were in the process of making a family. But
What? You didn't mess up a whole generation of families, Willie. You didn't
I'm
mess up a
ashamed of
bunch
you right now, Willie. Come on.
could have beens.
I was only an accessory. I wasn't driving.
Yeah, Willie. That man was about to go and make a family.
I look back. I wanted to make sure that he wasn't really bad. He kept going. He kept going.
I hope he
It's a
got to
tough
that.
turkey.
I hope he got to his wife, man. It's his family making time. Man. Goodness. Gosh, Willie.
He'll have a great story to tell the family. one day.
Exactly. When the kids get grown.
It almost didn't happen, you guys.
You almost did. You almost didn't end up on somebody's plate.
Look,
But
we
go
all
ahead.
love a redemption story, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This turkey was viciously mowed down by a city slicker driving through Portland, Tennessee. I mean,
you
look,
almost wasn't here, son.
look, one word that would not be used to describe me at any point in my life is outdoorsy. I do love the scenery. It is beautiful out here. in Portland, Tennessee. Oh my goodness. Dylan in Antioch says, what if that was Adam's pet turkey, meaning Adam in Portland, who always calls
Oh,
us.
wow. You're right.
Oh, good point.
Well, Adam in Portland.
Adam, if you're listening, we hope that we did not injure your beloved turkey.
Yeah. Take out his PCL during mating season.
I'm telling you, if we would have been 5 seconds behind,
Yeah.
that turkey was going straight into the windshield.
Oh, wow. You're right.
Oh man. But this is what we do. We drive out here. We maim turkeys for you, for the love of the game.
Hey, we got to do what we got to do. The show got to keep going. Got to keep the show going.
You can't make a show without breaking a few eggs
Yeah.
or a turkey's leg.
A turkey's leg.
We hope it's okay. We really hope the turkey is
I think
okay.
it's just a PCL.
I believe the turkey will be okay. He's probably just he's, playing through some pain right now, but it's okay.
Well,
Oh,
you tell
man.
him that in 5 years when he's still walking with a limp.
615-737-1025. We are out at Ascent Buildings at 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. There is a job fair today. Welders, fitters, machine operators, material handlers come out. $20 to $25 an hour, paid weekly benefits on the first day. So if you're looking for work, here is the place to do it at 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. Okay, one texter says, little turkey's asking dad how he got that limp. Matt in Nashville says, Adam, you can't say it was harmless. You don't know how much emotional damage and distress was caused by that call. You're about to get canceled for not considering the Nepo baby's feelings and mental health. That was, of course, to Shador Sanders.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, that turkey's going to have a heck of a story. How he came face to face. What kind of car you have, Willie?
It's an old black Acura.
Yeah, it came face to face with an
man.
Acura.
Oh, man.
At least he wasn't accurate.
It's going to be in that turkey's wall.
Yes. It was an inaccurate Acura, as David James just said.
We did examine the Acura to see if there was any
No damage.
feathers or anything on
No
there. No sign of any issues there,
Let's
which
hope.
made me feel better. No, for the
car. The car's fine. We don't know about the turkey.
I wasn't worried about the car.
The car's
about
fine.
the turkey.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, there's a song that I've had stuck in my head over the past day as I put together this topic. It has to do with Cam Ward. The song isn't about Cam Ward, but the song is related to our next topic about Cam Ward. And we'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. You can call us. You can text us. Our phone and text lines are driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. Tune into 94.9 The Fan tonight as the Nashville Sounds take on Gwinnett. Pregame begins at 5:50 and the first pitch is at 6:05. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. The 615 Open Charity Golf Tournament benefiting Folds of Honor presented by Gary Force Acura at Hermitage Golf Course is on Thursday, May 29th. Sign up to play or sponsor at 615open.com. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingen live at Ascent Buildings, 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. They are interviewing and hiring on the spot from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., so come on out if you're looking for work. Welders, fitters, machine operators, material handlers. $20 to $25 an hour, paid weekly, benefits on the first day. Okay, before we get to our next topic, we have a little bit more turkey talk that we have to get to on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyUnder.com. Corey says, hope that turkey was stepping out on his family. It would be hard to lie about a limp. One texter says, in that same vein, the turkey had been caught by his wife. He was coming from his side pieces area of town. He called his wife to take him to the doctor. Vingen is a home wrecker.
It was Willie that was driving. Not
Yeah.
Vingen.
One texter says, are we talking
Side piece.
side piece, dark meat, light meat? Who knows? Maybe I'm just burnt out on Warren Moon's number, but this turkey talk is so refreshing. One
Oh,
texter
man.
says, y'all are lucky. I have a buddy that had a turkey come through his windshield. Fortunately, it was on the
Ooh.
passenger side and no one was with him. So we were lucky, Willie.
Yeah.
We
Well, I
were
told-
lucky. It was almost direct.
Yeah, I
Look,
told Willie
We were lucky.
if you get a turkey leg where the leg is kind of
Little crooked.
crooked, you know it's turkey. That came from Portland.
Where is this turkey from by chance? Oh, we got it off of a farm in Portland. Huh.
Oh, I
Portland.
noticed that.
Hmm.
I noticed that.
His left leg appears a little bent.
All right. So
All right,
I
let's get to
mentioned
it.
that I had a song stuck in my head. Are either of you familiar with the Green Day album American Idiot?
Oh yeah.
Came out 20 years ago.
No.
Came out right when I was the perfect listener for this album because the album came out in 2004. I was 15 or 16 years old at the time, brimming with teenage angst. And Green Day, they've made a career out of writing songs about teenage angst and such. And there was a song, a bonus track on the album called Too Much Too Soon.
Mhm.
And the reason why I've had that song stuck in my head is looking at the first few days of Cam Ward's time as a member of the Tennessee Titans. And I was listening to Jared Stillman on Monday talking about how the Titans have treated Cam Ward through the first few days as a member of the franchise. This is part of what Jared Stillman said on Monday.
What has he done, by the way, to earn Warren Moon's retired number? What has Cam Ward done to be in a position where he can convince the team, as Jordan Schultz reported, to go sign Xavier Restrepo, his buddy from Miami, as an undrafted free agent? Since when are we listening to the quarterback on who we should sign or who we shouldn't sign? And it feels like I'm living in a fantasy land when I hear the Titans decide, oh yeah, let's unretire Warren Moon's jersey, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, because we're so optimistic that this is going to go well, and there's no negative ramifications that can come of this, like putting more pressure on the guy that we just picked number one to save our franchise. But screw it, let's do it, because in fantasy land, this is how we make decisions.
So that was part of Jared Stillman's rant
Yes.
on Monday.
Only a small part.
Only a small
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
Thankfully.
Unfortunately, I couldn't, or fortunately in Willie's case, I couldn't play the entire thing because that's what Stillman and Company is for. But we talked about this a little bit with Jared at the end of our show yesterday. He is concerned that the Titans have put more pressure on Cam Ward already than is probably best for him by unretiring Warren Moon's jersey number and bestowing it upon Cam Ward. He mentioned in that clip, and we talked about it with him yesterday, there was a report that Cam Ward pushed behind the scenes for the Titans to sign his favorite receiver, who was an undrafted free agent. Jared is laying this more at the feet of the Titans than Cam Ward. He has said that he doesn't think that Cam Ward is entitled. But I'm curious for your opinion, guys. Do you feel that the Titans have given Cam Ward too much too soon? Derek, why don't you start?
Would I have, done this to start off. Probably not as an organization. I would have probably wanted him to prove himself first. Go out there, get some wins under your belt, learn how to lead this franchise, and just maybe after that, yes, if you want to, wear, don the number one, then go ahead. If Warren Moon says okay, go ahead. But it didn't happen that way. I don't think this is going to be a big problem. It's not going to be a problem. Don't you think this kid has faced pressure, from being a 0-star recruit, pressure of getting on a team, being a quarterback, keeping that position, going to another team, having to prove to them he is the guy, even though he came there because only reason he went because of his offensive coordinator. But he proved that he was the guy. He had to go out there and prove. There was a lot of pressure on him going from Wazoo to Miami, the University of Miami, because now everybody want to see, can you really go? You guys stepping up in the level. Can you really grow with the big boys? So there was pressure upon him the minute he started transferring. This is what I want people to understand. When you step on that field, you're not thinking about a number. You're not thinking about who wore it. You're not thinking about any of that stuff. Whatever pressure he had on him, it wasn't added because of the number one. The pressure alone has been a number one pick in the NFL draft. Only few get that honor. Okay. How many drafts has it been? 90 some. Only 90 people have gotten that honor to be the number one pick in all of the draft. So that brings pressure in itself. And then, having to lead a franchise. You're not worried about a number. Yeah, you want to wear that number because it was your college number. And yes, the great Warren Moon wore it. And yes, he allowed you to wear it. He said, here, if Warren Moon has no problem with it, I have no problem with it. But make no mistake, once he stepped on that field, he's not thinking about the number one. He is not. He is thinking about winning football games, regardless if it was number 1 or number 11 or number 92. It doesn't matter to him. To me, that doesn't bring the added pressure that you're going to see manifest itself on the field. It's just not.
No, nobody who watches the Tennessee Titans and has since the team got here will see a guy wearing number 1 and say, that's Warren Moon's number. It just doesn't compute. It's not the same thing. He played for the Houston Oilers. We know the lineage of the franchise, but that's what makes this unique. I think I would side a little bit more with Jared if he asked for number 9, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. A Tennessee Titan who would retire. That would have been a little much, and I would think that that's a non-starter for the franchise. So I think it's unique, and I agree with you. You can't have more higher expectations than he's going to have. And I think the team believes that he does have, but what was Mike Borgonzi, the awareness, right? He does have an awareness that he's got to earn it, all of that stuff. So it's a legit thing to bring up. Yeah. I think if you're Jared, too much too soon, all that. They've put so many eggs in his basket, and they're building him up, which is probably a little. I'd be doing it a little more cautiously, probably. And when you say he's going to wear number 1, that does add to it. It gets people's attention, like, they did it. But I go back to Warren Moon played for the Houston Oilers, right? People in Tennessee do not watch the Titans and think of Warren Moon or Earl Campbell or any of those guys who wore those uniforms.
And I think that's the difference between this situation and the situation in New York with
totally
Abdul
different.
Carter reaching out to Lawrence Taylor, asking if he could wear number 56. And Lawrence Taylor told ESPN in a phone conversation, quote, he has to be the player that he is. He can't be another Lawrence Taylor. Well, he may be better than a Lawrence Taylor. Who knows? But he has to make his mark. It's up to him. And I'm hoping that he's not thinking that, I got shut down by LT. No, it wasn't like that, man. It's, hey, I'm with you. I mean, I'm the guy that it takes 2. I'm going to be 2 steps behind you and make sure you don't fall. So
if you're watching the New York Giants and you see a number 56,
You
are
immediately-
automatically going to
Automatically,
think of
yeah.
LT. That's
Right.
not the same thing when you watch the Titans.
Yeah, because there are a faction of the fan base that were Houston Oilers fans that are now Tennessee Titans fans. That would
What
recognize-
percentage?
Yeah, but it's probably
0.0001%.
it's probably a small percentage. But when you're talking about a Titans uniform, no one thinks like Titans. Well, if I see a uniform in the store and it has number 1, it's a Titans color. I'm not thinking Warren Moon. You know, if I'm just like a Titan fan, I'm not thinking Warren Moon. And there's more just Titan fans than there are Houston Oilers / Titan fans. Now, if it was number 9, automatically it would be like, no, that's Steve
that
McNair.
doesn't
Yeah,
work.
that's
Yeah.
McNair. You can't do that. But I think with Warren Moon, you're able to do that because now, and I've said this, it's almost like a resetting. This is her team. She believes this is the quarterback that can get her franchise jump started. Why not do it with the number that he wants to wear? Like, listen, he is not going to succeed or fail because he has the number 1.
And I don't pick up a vibe that this is Jared. I think is worried that he's, that they're placating, they're pandering to him, coddling him by giving him whatever he wants. I don't get that vibe from Cam Ward that he's like that. Like his story is the opposite of that, right? He's had to work for everything. He had to work for the starting job in high school. He had to work for the starting job in 3 different. I mean, I guess he was probably handed the starting job in Miami. But the point is, he's had to work along the way. I think his upbringing is one of the right principles and knowing when you go to that next stop, you've got to earn it. It's not going to be you show up and everything is laid out for you.
I don't
fair.
No, I think that's completely fair.
And I completely toss out the lobbying for your favorite receiver there. That to me is a non-story.
It's a free agent, a rookie free agent that is not costing you anything but simply a roster spot, which you're going to pick up a receiver anyway. And this isn't placating to your quarterback. You're trying to give your quarterback little things that'll make him feel comfortable when he walks in the locker room. Yeah. Jared, anybody else, that's what it's about. Your new quarterback, your rookie quarterback, your first pick in the NFL draft, walking into a building, seeing something familiar to him or someone familiar to him, someone that he has a relationship with. That only helps. How does that hurt? I don't understand how is that like this big thing. Oh, they're placating to him too early. No, they didn't waste the draft pick. They didn't spend. I'm not going to say waste. They didn't spend the draft pick on him. They brought him in as a free agent. He has a rapport with the quarterback already. Why wouldn't y'all want that? Why is that even a topic of discussion?
Here's another one real quick that I think would be another thing that I would have a little bit more problem with as opposed to what happened with the Oiler Titan thing. Let's say he came in as a rookie and he wanted to wear, let's just pick Will Levis's number. Like what's Will Levis's number? Number 8. If he came in having not ever played a snap in the league and went to Will Levis and said, hey, can I have number 8? Or went to somebody else and said, I want to wear number 8. That to me would cause a lot more friction. Now, if a 10-year veteran comes in and wants to wear number 8,
that's different.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Usually that happens a lot in sports, and you go to the guy who's wearing the number you want and you make a deal.
Exactly.
Right? You offer something, or maybe the guy comes to the veteran because the respect has been earned there. I would have a problem if they went that way. But see, to me, this is a different category, and it's inbounds.
615-737-1025. Your thoughts on this? Have the Titans given Cam Ward too much too soon? 615-737-1025. A reminder that we are out at Ascend Buildings at 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. Job fair today. Come on out and get yourself some work. You could also go to our website and find that this week's Nashville's best deal is Prince's Hot Chicken, the original and iconic hot chicken joint. For a limited time, grab half off a $25 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025-1063 the game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. The question on our phone and text lines at 615-737-1025. Have the Titans given Cam Ward too much too soon? Austin on our text line says, as far as I'm concerned, they haven't given Cam too much. His number and then a productive wide receiver in Xavier Restrepo. I think they have given him what he needs and is comfortable. One texter says, I'm sorry, but if you don't win at least one championship for your city, your number doesn't deserve to be retired, no matter how great. I think that's more of a criticism of Warren Moon than of Cam Ward. One texter says, guys, it's a number given to him by the man who wore it. This has got to stop. Nobody thinks he's Moon when he steps on the field in a Titans jersey. Warren Moon never wore a Titans number. And I think for me, it's less about like disrespecting Warren Moon.
Mhm.
It's about
He called and asked permission.
right.
Yes.
It's
Now,
not
which I think took some
moxie.
took some gumption.
Yes. I don't see this as disrespect of Warren Moon. I think the point is he has been a member of the Titans organization now for less than a week. At his introductory news conference in Nashville, Warren Moon is there, could give off the impression that it's a bit of a dog and pony show, but Warren Moon sounded like he was happy to give Cam Ward his number. I believe Warren Moon said that he had been approached multiple times in the past about it and decided this time to give it to Cam Ward.
Who would those guys
Yeah,
be?
who would the other guys be?
That I don't know.
Steve? I don't think Steve would have asked for number one.
I don't recall him.
Steve was number 9 at Alcorn State.
Alcorn. So maybe a receiver. I don't know.
Maybe a receiver, I guess.
Yeah,
That's a good question.
I could see a receiver asking for that number rather than
Yeah.
a quarterback. I'm sure Marcus didn't ask for number because he got his college number, didn't he?
I think so.
Well, it's funny, Willie, bringing up the example of a veteran player asking a younger player for his number, and it actually brings me back to a hockey example. So earlier this season, the Carolina Hurricanes, who, by the way, advanced in the Stanley Cup playoffs last night in a thrilling double overtime win against the New Jersey Devils, they traded for Mikko Rantanen from Colorado, and the Hurricanes already had a number 96, Jack Roslovic, who's been in the league for some time, but he's not at the same stature of Mikko Rantanen. So Rantanen asked Roslovic for the number, and Roslovic agreed. And usually in these situations, as you know, Derek, the player receiving the number pays for it.
Yes.
Or make some sort of gesture, right? I think Juan Soto bought Brett Beatty a car to take number 22. Didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But he did it. So there's different ways to show your appreciation, right?
Right. So I believe
Reciprocate.
One sec. So TD just texted me. He said AJ Brown asked for the number from
AJ
That
Brown.
kind of see a receiver. What I tell you, it had to be a receiver.
Okay.
didn't it?
interesting. All right. Thank you, Tehran. So Mikko Rantanen asked Jack Roslovic for the number 96 and gave him a Rolex, among other things.
Okay.
6 weeks later, Rantanen is traded from Carolina to Dallas. So Roslovic takes his number back. The first day after Rantanen is traded, Roslovic is back wearing number 96. So he made out like a bandit for 6 weeks.
Oh, that's great.
Got a Rolex out of it.
He got a Rolex, among other things.
He basically rented out his jersey.
Yeah, 6
Right.
weeks. Get a Rolex. Take
Oh,
your number
man.
back.
So that's how it usually happens. One texter says, as a Lions fan, I don't have a dog in the fight except to say that the alternative to how the Titans are treating Cam Ward is to not do enough to set him up for success. Do Titans fans want that?
Yeah, I don't understand. I get, the assumption, that, giving, a rookie quarterback this carte blanche to everything and let I understand that can I know what that
Right.
can do
Not
to
setting
a
any
quarterback.
boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
but they haven't even they haven't placated to him in no manner other than to try to make him feel as comfortable as possible when he first walked into that building. The only thing they really did, the organization did for him, was go out and get Restrepo. The number one had to be okayed by Warren Moon before the organization could do anything. If Warren Moon say no, now they may have had some talks behind closed doors. He may have had some talks. I don't know with the organization. They might all agree that, hey, this might be the right time and the right person to give the number one to. But the Titans didn't do this. It was Warren
I would
Moon.
imagine
The
the
Titans
Titans
just
would say,
okayed it.
if Warren is okay with it,
Exactly.
we're okay with it. I'm guessing that was in the equation. So
But it's not like the Titans
call
when
Warren,
yeah.
see what he thinks. If he's okay, we'll be all right with
But
it.
it's not like the Titans said, we're drafting Cam Ward and we're giving him number one that day. No, it wasn't like that. So the only thing that the Titans have done was go get a guy that was highly productive for him and with him.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
My concern about the expectation level is more towards what we know that teams offered for that pick.
And
To
you
me,
shared you shared with me this morning, Willie, on our beautiful drive over here, what Paul Kaharski reported this morning.
And it was
on Robbie and Rex Road.
on Robbie and Rex Road, and Jared relayed it to me as well. He said the swap picks in the first round, 1 for 3. You get 30, pick 34, so a very high second round pick this year, which they eventually used to trade up to get Jackson Dart, isn't it right?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
And then the first and the second round pick next year. That was the Giants' offer. 334 this year. First and second round picks next year. Now that is the type of trade that I don't think you can turn down, no matter how much you love Cam Ward. That is just my opinion.
But what if Cam Ward turns out to be that guy?
But if he did, it doesn't. It's all worthwhile for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
But
listen, when you drafting a quarterback, you're rolling the dice
to be
anyway.
worth that's 3 extra players.
No, I get that part, but when you're drafting
3
a quarterback,
extra players drafted in the first. The Giants might surprise people next year, but it's very, very possible that the Giants have a top 10 first round pick next year, which would mean a top 10 second round pick. So those are top 40 picks.
But if Cam Ward, if Cam Ward is progression the way that they believe he will,
that goes without saying. I'm pointing out the expectation level. So that's why it's not going to be about he's wearing Warren Moon's number.
Yeah, no.
That will be the piling on crew that does that. To me, the real question is, look, you have really set this guy up on a pedestal that you think this guy is that special that you're turning down potentially 3 top 40 picks. Potentially. That's and after they said as an organization, this is what we need to do to build our roster back.
But
that concerns me.
Again, I go back to there's 2 roads to one destination. And the Titans understand it. They believe in their mind the quickest way to that road is to hit on a quarterback. And they feel in that building that he is that guy. So
no question.
If it shows this season, it's all a if. I get it, but I'm leaning. I say he's going. I stand on business. He's going to be all right. So whether
he can't just be all right, like he.
What I'm saying this first year, he's going to be all right, and he's going to learn to develop. He's going to be that quarterback you thought he was going to be when you drafted him. My thing is when you draft a quarterback and he hits, no matter how many picks they give you on this other road, I'm always going to be 2 steps ahead of you. I'm always, because I got my quarterback. I'm developing him. It looks like he's on the right path. You got to hope and pray that all these guys develop and they have to be more to me than what the quarterback is. Because if it's not, everybody knows the quarterback is it's the ultimate elixir. It's no matter who you have on your team. If you don't have that quarterback, what happens? More times than not, you're not going to make it. But if you do have that quarterback, then more times than not, you will make it.
615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on if the Titans, in your opinion, are giving Cam Ward too much too soon. We will bring Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow into the conversation. Coming up next, 615-737-1025. Join Big Joe Dubin and 1025 The Game from 10 a.m. to noon at Coleman Tractor of Nashville this Saturday. for Kubota Orange Days. There will be exclusive deals on compact tractors, zero turns, and more, with special financing available. Sale runs from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. with demos, deals, giveaways, and lunch from 11 to 1. That's at the Coleman Tractor of Nashville, located at 7221 Whites Creek Pike in Jolton this Saturday. D. Mace, Fingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And we are, of course, proudly presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan. We are live at Ascent Buildings at 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. They are interviewing and hiring on the spot today until 3 p.m. Welders, fitters, machine operators, material handlers. If you're looking for work, this is the place to find it. Again, 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland.
They've got a food truck here
They
as
do.
well. They got a lot of nice people, so come on by. You can meet D. Mace.
Yeah.
So people have come specifically to meet
Yes.
D. Mace today.
That is the
You gotta love
power. That is the power that Derek Mason wields. But joining us, as always, on Wednesday, Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow. Hutton, I would love to ask you about NFL draft coverage, because the one thing that we have noticed over the past several days, and we saw it live during the first round of the NFL draft, it was like the Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward. Okay, that's great. Let's talk Shedeur Sanders for the next 10 minutes. It really does feel like Cam Ward has been the most undercovered, least covered, number one overall draft pick in quite some time. What have you just made of how the selection of Cam Ward has been covered nationally?
I can't describe it. It's a great question. It's a deep dive study. It's a thesis to me. I mean, Eric Fisher, is that the offensive lineman's name from
Yes.
like 15 years ago?
He
was covered
he went to
more as the number
Kansas
one
City.
pick.
Yep.
He was the number one pick. He was covered more. So I think why I'm saying it's crazy. It's a quarterback. Cam Ward is a Heisman Trophy finalist. You have a story that is made for TV. He starts at Incarnate Word after running a wing T offense. Incarnate Word to Washington State is graded out, is told he's a third or fourth round pick last year, 12 months ago. Now he's the number one overall pick. It's not about the Titans in the market. The Jaguars have had the number one pick several times, and the number one pick has been covered thoroughly. I don't look at it as a slap in the face to the fan base. I do it for Cam Ward. I mean, the Shedeur thing, it is a massive story. I understand why the networks covered it. For all the conspiracy theorists out there, ESPN loves Shedeur. So does the NFL loves the ratings. They can't stop talking about the ratings, but they couldn't stop talking about Shedeur Sanders instead of Cam. Especially like right as it was a foregone conclusion who the pick was going to be. And as the story progressed with Shedeur, it became more definitive about Cam Ward. If you think about the exact opposite of whatever's coming out on Sanders, Cam Ward has crushed it on the decisions that he's made. He went back to NIL in Miami, becomes a Heisman finalist, sets records for the NCAA. Then he goes to the draft process and has handled that perfectly, beautifully, with how he's approached the interviews, the questions about being on the board. I mean, that's clear. The Titans met him in February for the first time, and they are dead set and convinced. We've all heard from them that he's the face of the franchise and the face that's going to usher them into this new stadium, which they care deeply about. So I say all that to me. I don't get it. I mean, they mentioned his name, but given the position, I mean, it's not like an offensive lineman here. And then Travis Hunter is right. I mean, you talk about Dion and primetime and the whole brand. Travis Hunter is right there, number 2, and the Jags trade for him, and we're still discussing Shedeur to the Giants. I understand why you're mentioning the quarterback, but they bypassed another quarterback who went number 1 overall.
I want to stay on this topic because I saw a tweet thread from Kevin Van Valkenburg, who used to work for ESPN. He now has a website, I believe, called No Laying Up. I believe it's a golf website. But it was a fascinating tweet because I find the Shedeur Sanders story to be much more fascinating as a media story than just a football story. And this is what Van Valkenburg tweeted, quote, "Football aside, the Shedeur Sanders thing is a fascinating media story." I guess that's where I came up with that just now. Sanders willed himself into the role of main character. Media ate it up, played along, agreed he was the story. Reality didn't jibe with the story. Now the narrative is, why isn't reality what we said it was? Tomorrow the story will be, here's what Stephen A. and Pat McAfee think about the story. that's already unfolding. And oh, by the way, throw President Trump in there too, because he posted about it. Eventually, the story will pivot to, can Shedeur silence the haters and live up to the original story? We have been searching for a new Tim Tebow and finally found one. It gets to play out similarly as part of not only the football media industrial complex, but also the culture wars. It's like watching someone reboot a beloved TV show from your childhood. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's more to me. It's more Johnny Manziel than Tim Tebow. With the passion behind why you're doing. I mean, look, there are media members that are mentioning the name because they'll get clicks and they'll get coverage. I do think the media covers the media way too much. I think Kiper was embarrassed. That's why he had the reaction that he did. But everyone got this wrong. I don't know of anyone who said 5th round pick for Shedeur. I don't know the lowest you guys have seen Shedeur prior to the draft on the overall board, just best player available. I think the lowest for me was like 35. I think Dane Brugler had him low. That's the lowest I saw. So it's not like it was just Kiper missed. And I mean, it's hard to miss on the number 1 overall pick, where that's going to be. And that's where Kiper had him. It's crazy how everyone's fixated on one player. And honestly, the entire draft was zeroed around 4 players. The entire time we were talking 4 players and 4 teams. And that's also unusual, but the ratings were there. So that's what we get. We get this cycle of more pop culture magazine than what's taking place on the field. But I mean, even so, it's not like Schefter or Rappaport came out with any reports during this process about how Shedeur was so awful in interviews. That would get out if it was that bad. So I don't think it was awful, but it wasn't good. That's clear. That it's obvious that it wasn't good. But I mean, a team did draft him. I still don't know why the Browns circled back and drafted him after taking the quarterback where they did. Gabriel was, by the way, Gabriel was rated as like a 5th, or the agent for Gabriel said we were just praying that he would be drafted in the 5th or 6th round. Browns took him in the 3rd. I mean, that's how they viewed Shedeur. The whole thing's crazy in the storyline. Meanwhile, I mean, I don't know Cam Ward's father's name. Like, again, it's the opposite of what was fueling the eyeballs and the clicks. And I mean, again, I've been talking Shedeur this week a lot. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, it is fascinating how we cover it versus what we don't.
And it will only, sorry, Derek, it will only get, it may die down a little bit now, Hutton, because we're past the draft. But once rookie minicamp starts, what's going to be on the A block of every single debate show?
Well, it's going to be Shedeur Sanders.
Well,
like Bronny James in the summer league.
Schedule release is coming out. Schedule release is coming out, and then at the schedule release, that's when they'll have Shedeur back, and you'll have all these different things, and like he's battling for the starting job now in Cleveland. I mean, it'll continue, and who knows what Dion will say? Yeah. He'll keep that. They will continue to fuel that.
Well, I mean, if you look at this, because I think there have been, 3 or 4 polarizing individuals within the last, 2 decades. I think Ryan Leaf may be on the edge of that. He was a polarizing figure when he came out. It was between he and Peyton Manning. Then you move further on. You look at Johnny Manziel. You look at Tim Tebow, and now it's Shedeur Sanders. If you look at all these individuals, the draft became about them for whatever reason. Timbo, because of the more so of him being a leader in the religious aspect. You look at Johnny Manziel, the partying, the dollar signs, this and that. He falls, and then you look at Shedeur Sanders, and it's sort of the same thing, but with those two, you didn't have as much parental interaction that you had in this case. Now we can go back to the Mannings, but I'm not going to even take it there because we know how all that went. But I just think in those 3 or 4 stories, the NFL latched on to what would garner more eyes to the TV. And Ryan Leaf and that whole Peyton Manning thing did. Obviously, the Johnny Manziel, Tim Tebow, and now Shedeur Sanders. So you've had at least 3 guys within the last 2 decades that have basically taken over the draft.
But I totally agree with you. The weird thing, though, Mace, is the storyline that would have crushed ratings is that he sucks in interviews,
Mm.
and it didn't get out until the day before the draft through an anonymous source. That's what's so odd to me, because I mean, think about this. We know, we know where it ended the day before the draft.
Mhm.
Go back to the East-West game, the Shrine Bowl. The NFL put out a memo that if you're attending these all-star games, that you need to practice during the week. Well, Shedeur didn't practice, and there was that headline that oddly, again, I don't buy this, that the Titans, the Giants, and the Browns asked him not to practice that week. What? But then it come to find out he had already decided a week before that he wasn't going to practice or work out on that Saturday. Again, there were some things there. The Titans end up not even wanting to work him out privately. That's the whole thing's weird. And you mentioned Tebow and Johnny Manziel and Johnny Football. I agree, but those dudes are Heisman winners.
Yeah,
like there's obvious award-winning talent there.
but a circus
that's
still
coming into the
followed
league,
each
and we
one
had
of
But there
them.
was a lot of
Travis
question
Hunter.
of would the skills translate,
Yeah.
right? That to me is also a
Right.
very unique and very unique type of college players, right? Manziel and Tebow weren't your classic
Traditional, yeah.
pro style quarterback. They had very
didn't-
unique traits, right?
Just
Just like Shedeur. I think Shedeur had some of that.
I thought we would hear more from Dion too. I like, we didn't really. I mean, we heard some, but not a ton. That's the other thing. It wasn't like he was dictating this publicly. I just think
it felt like he was early on because he gave
Yeah.
those podcasts interviews where he would say, "We're going
Last
to pull an
November.
Eli. We're going to pull an Eli," right? So that was in the middle of the football
True.
season. But
And
through
I-
this
I mean, I think
process, he
there's
has
a-
been pretty quiet, I feel like.
there's a way to do that. I
Mhm.
mean, we've seen that before. I don't look. They could obviously pull that if they want to, but they overplayed their hand and totally overvalued whatever they thought was going to happen. They didn't have an agent representing them during the draft. I mean, again, that's to each his own there. I mean, neither did Lamar Jackson, but again, we're talking about a first round pick compared to a fifth. That's the thing. He's better than a fifth round pick. I think we all agree there. That's what's so damning in the situation is that he just kept falling. I mean, it's the NFL spoke there, and there's always a dumb owner or general manager that overdrafts the quarterback. The Browns did in the third round with Dylan Gabriel, and they still passed on Shedeur with everybody talking about him.
Now, sort of going to another topic here, still football,
Yeah.
Hut. We had a conversation briefly yesterday about the whole Quinn Ewers situation, and him, coming out and whatever, information they gave them, it must not been correct, or they just didn't care. Because if I knew coming out that I was going to be a 5th, 6th round draft pick, and I had another year of college to up my stock, I tend to go back, especially now with NIL. You look at the young lady, Olivia Miles, I believe that's her name, out of Notre Dame. She chose to go back, and she would have been a high pick, but she chose because she was getting more money NIL in college than she would have, entering into the WNBA. Do you think we'll start to see a trend now where these young men and women are starting to stay back another year? Because not only am I projected to be drafted low, but the money here in college is still more than I wouldn't have got in my rookie contract.
Yeah, I think that's what Cam Ward did. With his grade last year when he dipped his toe in the waters and then went to Miami and made more. And again, he made the right call. He went from a 3rd or 4th round projection to a number 1 overall pick. He did a great job. It's an amazing story. I think with Quinn Ewers, Mace, it is about the injury history with him. That dude has taken a lot of hits already, and he's been banged up a lot at Texas. And I think that was a strategy we could be drafted versus another big injury. And he's probably undrafted and has no chance of going to a team with a chance to compete. I mean, think about some of the injuries he's had. The abdominal injury he had last year, and prior to that, other issues with the shoulder, the ankle, and injuries that kept him out of games where he tried to stay in. But I think that's more. I think it's more medical that we don't know with him because otherwise, I mean, he goes and makes a lot of money. Quinn Ewers makes a lot of money in the transfer portal, a ton. And I mean, I think he's up there with where we would put, the top paid quarterbacks right now. I mean, look what Duke's paying. And you
I
got a chance
believe
to
the
land
I
Dylan
believe
Gabriel.
the
I'm with you, but I think this is a circumstance that's worse than just NIL.
I believe the report was at his draft slot, Quinn Ewers could make $4.3 million over 4 years if he had entered the portal.
That's if he stays in the league for 4 years.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right?
If he had entered the portal and stayed in
That's right.
college for another year, he's probably making upwards of $4 million for that one season.
Yeah, I mean, he's making the only thing he didn't obtain by being drafted in the 7th is being an unrestricted free agent and deciding where he wanted to go to compete.
Yeah.
Like he's virtually making the same amount of money, and the signing bonus could be more as an unrestricted free agent now, as an undrafted free agent, excuse me, because you can compete now in the financial world there, where you pay them and bonus them whatever you want. So or there's a cap there, but it's much higher. Point being, I just think another bad injury, he's going to be flagged for medical, and that's clearly why he dropped. Because what we had, how many quarterbacks total drafted? I know
There were 13, and he was 13th out of
Quinn Ewers been
13.
healthy. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a medical flag. I do, and I think it was a history of things that they probably felt like another hit, and he's done, like retired.
Okay, so Hut, I'm going to hit you one more time because I'm asking everybody because we're going to see it through to the end. Now that the book is closed, right? Because we know what the Titans' answer is.
Yes, I'd take the trade, Willie.
You would take the trade. Okay, you would have taken the picks.
Yeah, but I heard Koharski this morning say the trade started with what it was you flip the first round picks,
right?
You get next year's first round, you get a second round pick this year and next year. That's where it started.
To me, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer to me. But
I'll take the trade.
Okay,
I mean,
so you take the trade.
They potentially turn down the number 1 overall pick in a trade for next year, but we don't know that. But I mean, the Giants drafted 6th, and prior to that, they drafted what, 3rd? They had the 3rd and 6th overall pick the last 2 years. The rookie quarterbacks are going to take their lumps, especially with a roster like that. So yeah, I would have taken the trade.
The Giants' first round picks by number. Abdul Carter was 3rd overall. Malik Neighbors was 6th overall.
There you go.
Back in 2022, Kayvon Thibodeau was 5th overall. So they've had a top 6 pick in 3 of the past 4 years.
And their quarterbacks this year are Jackson Dart, Jameis Winston, and Russell Wilson. They're not likely to win a lot. That has to be considered if you're the Titans. But it sounded to me their answer was so adamant that they didn't even play the poker game, right? They were they shut the phones down. They are willingly telling you that. That really concerns me.
Joe Shane, the GM in New York, said in his presser after they drafted Abdul Carter, said that the Titans you have to have 2 to tango, and the Titans weren't going to negotiate. This was like the Titans admitted it was 3 weeks prior to the draft when they decided that they weren't going to trade the pick, and that was around the time I think they canceled the deal with Shador.
Now, what everybody says, and D Mace is in this boat. He says if Cam Ward works out, everything will be okay. But what's the percentage chance that history would tell you that Cam Ward is going to be more valuable than that package of picks? I think what would the odds makers have on that probability if you did a prop bet for 5 years or something to reevaluate that? I just think the value is it's too good to pass up.
I agree. I mean, look, I just look at the roster and look at the rebuild and what they're doing, and I take it based on the future value of the picks. I mean, again, you can maneuver and get your quarterback, but you're not going to do anything unless you have that quarterback. What the Titans have told us, Willie, is he's a very good quarterback that they believe, that not just they believe, they are convinced that he is going to be great. That's the bar. Like, I think we have to set that standard based on what they have said. They were convinced 3 weeks prior to the draft and then told the media and the fans, we're not open to negotiating this pick. We're going to stick and pick. I mean, that to me is we're Super Bowl bound with this guy. And
I'm concerned what kind
Am
of
I wrong?
expectation level. No, I think they look in a roundabout way. That's kind of what they're saying. Let's take another first overall pick, right? Jadeveon Clowney, right? He even beyond Cam Ward, way beyond. He was the hands down number one guy. Absolute. If there was a can't miss first overall pick, it was probably him, right? And he hasn't been a bad NFL player. He's been in the league for a long time. He's had some good years, some not so good years. But it's still, as much of the expectation level was on him, he's been a little bit underwhelming, right? But my point is even if you were the first pick in the draft, you cannot know that a guy is going to turn into. There's no such thing as a can't miss. There's no such thing of knowing that you've got your franchise quarterback. You can't know.
You can't. I hear Mace chime in if you agree here, because you're on the. It sounds like you're on with the Ward side based on what Willie's saying. Here's Willie. Here's where I come down on. I understand why they stayed. I would have taken the trade. Cam Ward comes across as an alpha dog, like he is. I mean, he's leading workouts on the transfer the first week he's there in Miami after he decides to stay in college. When he gets there, he's leading the players-led workouts. I love that. Like, okay, instead of Clowney, let's compare him to Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, to me, is more beta than alpha. Like, how he comes across. And there's no doubt Cam Ward's going to enter that locker room for the Titans and be a leader. Like, it starts with the mentality. So if you're sitting in the room and you're commanding the room, you get that. I mean, commanding the room with Borgonzi and Brinker and Callahan, I think that it comes across as there's one guy leading that interview, and it's Cam Ward. That's my sense. And so I get why they're convinced based on the guy. I love everything I've heard from him. Love it. I'm just basing it on the player, and I think he's going to be very good, but not great. And I'm not going to base that off of one press conference after the Titans pick him. I'm basing it off of what I've believed the entire process. So, but comparing it to Trevor Lawrence, who's hands down the number one overall pick, who's been very good, but not great. I take the trade. I do.
Well, I mean, listen, if you feel that he's the guy and you feel he can lead your franchise, he could be a franchise quarterback, then this league is so predicated on having that guy underneath center. Yeah. And you can't even taking the chance that you did this draft at bypassing those picks. If you feel you can get them, you gotta get them, because if you don't, there may not be another guy. I know people are looking at next year's draft and they're throwing out Manning and all, but who knows?
Manning's gonna stay in school.
Yeah, who knows? Like, then you're gonna be stuck in this rut again, and you may not get the number one pick. You just may land in a space where you're winning 7-8 games with a veteran quarterback who's aging, and you'll never be in a position to get that guy once again.
I totally agree with you. What we don't know is what made this decision. I think what we don't know is, and look, I think this is more about Titans entertainment than football. You have to factor in the stadium. You must. The stadium and the patience of the owner. Those two things are massive, massive decision-making things. Just on top of football. You look at the changes they've made recently, and compare it to where they're headed. It's more like you got the WWE is sports entertainers. They're not wrestlers, they're sports entertainers. This is going to be the entertainment show across the river. I just open up, 365, 24/7. And Cam Ward's the guy that they're choosing to lead that charge. And they went quarterback number one overall, and they've got the guy that's, going to set the tone. He's a tone setter, no doubt. But is he a Super Bowl winning quarterback? They want to bring a lot to the stadium, and one of the things is going to be a Super Bowl title. They're telling us that by what they're saying behind that table whenever they're at the press conference. I can't take it anywhere other than that, based on what they turned down. We don't know other offers. They did say they had multiple offers. They had said that prior to the draft. So we don't know what else was there. We just know what the third overall team offered, because Joe Schoen confirmed it.
Jonathan Hutton from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow joining us on D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick as he does every Wednesday. Hutton, great stuff, my friend. We'll talk next week.
Yeah, always great, guys. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Always a pleasure. Jonathan Hutton on the program, 615-737-1025. And the reason why Jonathan Hutton is one of the best in the business is something he said there flows perfectly into what I wanted to talk about next anyway. I did not set up Jonathan Hutton for that. He did that all by himself. But I think it's a great launching point for what I wanted to bring up next. 615-737-1025. Come catch us at Ascent Buildings, 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. They are interviewing and hiring on the spot welders, fitters, machine operators, material handlers. If you are, this is the place to find it. Again, 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063. The Game.
We did a really poor job of acknowledging a guy like Abdul Carter because of a quarterback, and we did a really bad job of acknowledging the number 1 pick, Cam Ward, because of the trade that happened with Travis Hunter at number 2, and then the fact that Shador then didn't get picked, that somehow the number 1 overall pick became like an afterthought. I called us out that night on the air, like, dude went number 1, man. And it's the story we love. He was a 0-star recruit, transferred from Incarnate Word to Washington State to Miami, and goes number 1 without any clue. I mean, any uncertainty. That was their guy. Supposedly the Giants came with a king's ransom, and Tennessee was like, nope, can't help you. That should be celebrated.
Yes.
Let's celebrate Cam Ward.
Cam
man.
Ward. Cam Ward. Cam Ward. I just want to keep saying his name because no one said it for 3 days.
That was Scott Van Pelt on his podcast talking about Cam Ward and how we really haven't been paying attention to Cam Ward. And by we, I mean the national NFL media. Of course, we here in Nashville have been paying plenty of attention to Cam Ward, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan. So Jonathan Hutton set me up perfectly. Thank you, Hutton, for what I wanted to talk about next. He was talking about the entertainment product for the Tennessee Titans. As soon as Cam Ward was drafted by the Tennessee Titans, The Ringer posted this story written by Danny Heifetz. Can Cam Ward finally make the Titans exciting? And there were some descriptions of the Titans in here that made me laugh out loud. Danny Heifetz, for example, compared the Titans to, quote, the NFL's equivalent of elevator music, relaxing background noise that's neither offensive nor memorable. He also said, quote, Tennessee has basically embodied Brad Pitt's instructions to Matt Damon in Ocean's 11. Be specific, but not memorable. Be funny, but don't make him laugh. He's got to like you, then forget you the moment you've left his side. And look, we here in Tennessee, we talk a lot about why aren't people outside of Nashville talking about the Tennessee Titans? Well, they haven't been good enough consistently for people outside of Nashville to pay attention. But the question is, can Cam Ward change that? Here are some other parts of Danny Heifetz's story. Quote, it starts with, he's talking about the University of Tennessee. He mentions that it's the more popular football team in the state. Culturally, the Volunteers are in Tennessee's blood. The Titans are merely in the water. The Volunteers were beating the Titans in TV ratings a decade ago. And while things have evened out a bit since then, that's likely just due to the NFL's rising tide. The Titans' ratings last season were an all-time low for the team. They claim the drop was due to a change in the methodology of measurement, but they were last in the NFL, and also they just haven't been good. Tennessee drafted quarterback Will Levis in the second round just 2 years ago, and since then he spent his time on the field turning interceptions and fumbles into performance art. You'd think Levis's quarterbacking would be must-see television, like rubbernecking at a car accident on the highway. But since Levis took over as the team's quarterback, Titans TV ratings have fallen 33%. The Levis era was embodied last September when cameras caught Titans head coach Brian Callahan asking Levis, "What the F are you doing?" The Titans went 5-16 in Levis's starts across the past 2 seasons, and the team was dismal enough last year that they benched the quarterback in favor of Mason Rudolph and finished the campaign with a 3-14 record and the first pick in the draft. So I'm curious, can Cam Ward finally make the Titans exciting? Because he appears to be an incredibly exciting football player.
But first of all, are we acting like Derrick Henry played like 25 years ago or something? Like that was pretty exciting. Like
that is
Henry,
fair.
That wasn't that long ago. So it's not like
that
this
is a fair point.
CJ 2K. It wasn't
pretty
exciting to go watch him play, and people talked about him. I just think
the Ringer. I give them credit. They're very creative. That's a classic Ringer.
It's another
article.
way.
Yeah.
It's another angle you tell a story, sort of about the team.
Yeah.
And it's a good read, may I add. But
I do want to interject, because before that comparison to the Ocean's 11 quote, it says, quote, aside from some epic Derrick Henry seasons, some legendary Indy coaching performances from Mike Vrabel in the year Steve McNair split the MVP award with Peyton Manning, Tennessee has basically embodied Brad Pitt's instructions to Matt Damon in Ocean's 11.
That's from the outside. I don't believe. I would like to see more research and proof about Tennessee Volunteers ratings versus Titans ratings, because I don't buy that. I think everybody in Middle Tennessee in our area watches the Titans.
Listen, it's hard in any market, any major market, when you're competing with a major university that has history in football or
Sure.
basketball.
But a lot of Tennessee's games are on SEC
Exactly.
Network.
So
or
it
on-
wouldn't.
They're
it
not
wouldn't-
all on ABC. Every single Titans game is on network television locally. I'd like to see the numbers behind
But
that theory.
but I think there's more diehard college football fans than there are diehard like.
But Tennessee went through a
fans.
down period too during some of that time.
But
that
people
we're
are
talking
still going to
about.
watch
Of course
the
they
team play, regardless of what they're doing. I think NFL fans are a little bit more sort of fickle when it comes to wins and losses, as opposed to a college team that has been on the top for a long time or been on the top period, and then they go through their phase of losing. I think the fan base still show up. They're angry, but they still show up. I think in football, they'll check out. After a while, they'll check out.
Well, I think this is the point that I want to discuss. From the article, quote, one of the reasons Ward is such a clear pick for Tennessee is his calmness, an incredible contrast to Levis's impulsiveness. But Ward's playmaking pizzazz also offers Tennessee something that only Henry, and you can quibble about it being only Henry, but the article says Ward's playmaking pizzazz also offers Tennessee something that only Henry has given the team in the past 20 years, excitement.
That's
AJ
fair.
Brown gave him excitement.
Yeah.
CJ2K gave him excitement. I mean, you have guys that have given them a sense of, I got to watch the Titans because I got to see this player play. But because, again, because I think this would be more of the question. Look at all of the sort of franchises. What do you call them?
Expansion franchises.
Expansion. Look at all the expansion franchises within the last, since 1997, because that's when they really.
Yeah.
Baltimore, Carolina, the Titans. Who else? Jacksonville. St. Louis, but they kind of moved. It was a back and forth thing with them. Their fan bases, they don't have this entrenched fan base.
Generational.
Generational fan bases. So it's not that people don't care about them. It's just that their fan bases are not entrenched. If you're just a good team, like making it to the playoffs every year, you're still going to fly under the radar unless you win a Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl, i.e. the Tennessee Titans or i.e. the Carolina Panthers. Anytime before the Super Bowl or after the Super Bowl, the Panthers have been pretty much irrelevant. Jacksonville has been pretty much irrelevant outside of their seasons and the Titans have been the same. We've all had our good seasons in the midst, but when you are one of these franchises, it's harder for people to hold on to you if you're not consistently competing for championships.
I think the point that the article is trying to make, and you're right, Willie, I'm a big fan of The Ringer. I think they do some really impressive work.
Yes, I agree.
They also don't take themselves too seriously. They write in a conversational style. The subhead for this story is the Titans have long been the NFL's version of elevator music, but with their new number one pick, can they vault into a new league stratosphere? Is Cam Ward,
I think that's an outside perspective, right? That's from a national
from a national perspective. Do you think that Cam Ward and what we expect Cam Ward to be will bring in more of that national attention?
I think it's hypothetical. I think it's possible. I'll use an example. On the highlight reel, when they announced Cam Ward's the first pick, there's a play that he makes where he extends the play, bounces, holding off a rusher, and then throws. He's kind of falling down, and he throws a two-hand chest pass to the running back who makes a big play. It looked very similar to the play that Will Levis coughed up the ball against the Jets, right? A week after the whole
don't compare
Bears,
him to Will Levis,
after the Bears debacle, right?
Yes.
He had the next week against the Jets, they're looking good. Remember, they were razor sharp at the beginning of that Jets game. Looks like he's learned his lessons. And then, it looks very similar. So you're a hero if you make the exciting play where it's creative, but there's this fine line between that and it's a rookie mistake. Oh my gosh, he's got to learn the hard way. So it's all theoretical excitement, but winning is exciting more than anything else.
I do agree with the premise of the article. He can make this team. He can't put this team in a position where they're talked about more than they have been.
Yes.
Because if you have that quarterback and that quarterback is doing well, they can't help but talk about you. So from that aspect, yes, he can. I don't know how much excitement are you talking about, local excitement, or are you talking about that? Because even when we went to the Super Bowl, there wasn't a national excitement about us.
I'm
So are
guessing
you talking
this
about
guy-
local?
I don't think he's talking local. My guess, and he's shaping things.
But
like
there'll
the
never be a
the
national
audience
excitement.
versus the volunteer. I think that shows a little bit of out of touch.
When I say local,
with
I
how
mean
it works.
Tennessee. Like
yes,
the state,
locally, he's going to have all of our attention. We know that. But I would hearken it to, like, if you're a covering the league person, what's going to grab your attention? It's more exciting teams to watch, right? If you got 10 football games on like you do on Sunday, are you going to gravitate towards the Titans? Probably not, unless you got something exciting. And Derrick Henry might be that guy that moved the needle, and maybe Cam Ward potentially could be. I think that's where that guy's coming from.
615-737-1025. Can Cam Ward finally make the Titans exciting to a national audience? Because we, of course, know that all of you will be watching Cam Ward very, very closely. 615-737-1025. We are live out at Ascent Buildings, 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. There is a job fair today until 3 p.m. coming out. If you are looking for work, welders, fitters, machine operators, material handlers, this is the place to be if you are looking for work. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063. The Game. D-Mace, Fingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you, talking an article in The Ringer written by Danny Heifetz. Can Cam Ward finally make the Titans exciting? The lead graph in this story. Quote, the Tennessee Titans selected Cam Ward with the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft Thursday night, completing his journey from high school quarterback with one Division I scholarship offer to this year's top NFL selection. But now Ward, the all-time leader in D1 touchdown passes, faces an even more difficult road ahead, one where he'll attempt to make the Tennessee Titans fun.
He's the all-time leader in touchdown passes.
In D1,
in
yep.
D1.
He is.
Gosh, that's a hell of a feat.
Played a lot of games.
He did.
Yeah, 4 years of college. Well, I guess.
Well, that's interesting because there are quarterbacks that played 5 full years
Yeah,
because
that's
of the
what I'm
COVID
saying.
stuff. So he only had 4 years as a starter, right?
Yeah. So he did all that in 4 years. Hell of a resume. But again, listen, a part of this, there's several different sort of facets or reasons, more so reasons why you draft Cam Ward. And some are really important, and then some are just byproducts of him being the number one pick and having success and what that success will bring. It is having a quarterback, and I talked about this when they decided to, when they gave the okay for the stadium. I said they need to find them a quarterback before they move in that stadium. They need to have them a quarterback, young quarterback. They need to have somebody so when they move it to that stadium, people are excited about going in the stadium more outside of just it being a new stadium, and they feel. And I know a part of it. It probably wasn't a big part, so I'm not going to sit here and say it was, but I'm sure a part of it was he can be. What better player would you want to have based upon his background, his story, everything else? Why wouldn't you want to have a guy like that as your face entering into a new stadium? And if he's playing exciting football, that's what you want. And I'm sure that was a part, not a big part, but I'm sure that was a part of it. We need to have a quarterback before we move into that stadium.
One texter says, the Titans have become the Browns South. Terrible ownership, making bad decisions, and largely irrelevant. I didn't watch half the games last year because it was awful. And there are so many people that moved here that fewer people in Tennessee are likely watching Titans as the population grows because they are watching their old home team. Let's hope Cam Ward makes a difference.
I do think in this day and age, there's that ability a lot easier than it was 20 or 30 years ago for sure. If you want to continue to follow your team, you can watch them every Sunday. If you just pay a little extra, you can do that. I buy that. So you're trying to pull in, but you still have scores and scores of fans here. You got plenty of fans. It's just keeping them engaged. Are they going to? That's a whole nother aspect, is the business part, selling tickets in the PSLs and what they're asking, which is astronomical. That's going to be a feat, and having a guy that you can market at quarterback would be smart, right? But that's not why you should pick. You shouldn't pick based on that.
Of course not.
I don't think.
No. Again,
it works out if
it's in a list with a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
What the potential
but
of
to
his
me, like if you're sitting in a
production
business, if I'm selling suites, if I'm selling PSLs, and I hear this is just me, the person trying to keep my job, do well at my job, get paid for selling what I need to sell. And somebody says, hey, we could have Cam Ward, or we can have picks 3. It'll be a defensive end, plus we'll have the 34th pick, and then next year we'll have the Giants' first and second round pick. That doesn't sound as sexy as we're going to have the quarterback.
Exactly.
I mean, what's going to help me sell in the next year? It's not even a contest, right?
No, it's
but
not.
that's not what should make your decision for you.
It shouldn't be driving the decision. It should be in the trunk somewhere. Just a part of, what the things you sort of jot down on why you draft this guy in the first round. Yes, he can do this, he can do that, he can do this for the franchise, but then ultimately we're opening up a new stadium. We need our fan base excited about this team. because that excitement, and if it hits, it allows you, not just as a coach, but I think as an organization, it builds up sort of that if things go bad, that rainy day fund, so to speak, just like with with us in '99 when we finally moved into that stadium. We went that because we went to the Super Bowl. It built up those rainy day funds. You know, when Jeff was going 8-8 and stuff was going on, people still hung in. Why? Because this was a team that was not too long ago in the Super Bowl, so we can do it again. That's what holds the fan base. So if Cam brings that, that's what you want as an organization, but that's not why you are solely drafting him.
What was the thing that got the Titans on the most highlight reels? And I use highlight reels loosely. What was the major talking point that if you turned on First Take or you turned on SportsCenter early in the season specifically, if they were talking about the Titans, they were talking about what?
The flops of Will
Correct.
Levis.
They were talking about, can you believe this ridiculous turnover that Will Levis had? And then the following week, they were like, hey, remember last week? You'll never believe what he did this week. That's what got the Titans the most attention during the season, was Will Levis's turnovers, which the writer of this article referred to as performance art almost. So that's the point, is that Cam Ward appears to be the type of prospect who can get the Titans on these shows for dazzling displays of skill, not for, can you believe this quarterback made this ridiculously stupid turnover and his coach is MFing him on national television. That's a big part of it too. Like, Titans fans don't want to be on national television because their quarterback is a laughingstock. They want their quarterback to be on SportsCenter Top 10 because he's making dazzling plays. And then the article, it says, quote, Tennessee is going to need Ward to create some magic early, and he's certainly capable of doing that. In fact, he's done so throughout his underdog-like career. So I think that's an important aspect of it too, because we've had, for as long as I've lived here, I've been here for 10 years now. It was the same thing with the Predators when playing well. They're not talking about us enough. The Predators are a good team. They're making big playoff runs. They're the best team in the league. They're not talking about us enough. Like and Nashville alone in that. There are other fan bases in other cities that are like that. But I do think there is a yearning for Titans fans that we want to be talked about. We want people to pay attention to us. And Cam Ward, I think for a lot of Titans fans, is someone who can finally make that happen for the first time since Derrick Henry left.
Well, that's what they're hoping. And it's not, there's a difference between being talked about because of your running back or being talked about because of your quarterback. You know, Derrick Henry brought a lot of exposure to this team, to this franchise, because frankly, he was the best runner in the National Football League, and he still may be the best runner in the National Football League. But that dwarfs in comparison to if the Titans have that quarterback, and that quarterback is doing some of those same things. There's no amount of money you can pay, or I don't think there are many draft picks you can give up, you know, to trade that in, to have my quarterback be the focal point and talked about in the manner of like a Derrick Henry because of his play. It's times 20 if the quarterback does it.
615-737-1025. Your thoughts on this. But coming up next, as we were leaving the show yesterday, Willie said something that really got me thinking. And we're going to bring that to all of you. Coming up next, 615-737-1025. We are live out in Portland, 214 Fountainhead Road at Ascent Buildings. There is a job fair today through 3 p.m. So come on out. 615-737-1025. Willie Darnick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063 The Game. Fingan and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. And we are proudly presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you at 214 Fountainhead Road, Ascent Buildings in Portland, Tennessee. They are interviewing and hiring on the spot until 3 p.m. Welders, fitters, machine operators, material handlers, $20 to $25 an hour, paid weekly, benefits on the first day. So come on out if you're looking for work. So yesterday, as we were leaving the station and we were talking about what we wanted to talk about today, Willie brought up something interesting about Brian Callahan. One thing that we've come to know about Brian Callahan, I like listening to Brian Callahan talk. I think he's insightful. You know, he is unlike his predecessor, Mike Vrabel, who rarely said anything interesting, at least in my opinion. But Willie, you thought, does Brian Callahan maybe need to tone it down a little bit? And this is a trigger warning to Willie Donick. This was Brian Callahan after the Tennessee Titans drafted Cam Ward last week.
Sounded pretty hefty. When did that come along the timeline? And was there a temptation at that time?
Yeah, I think we went through the process the correct way. You know, we considered all things available to us. You know, as far as when and where and how much, that doesn't really matter now at this point. But those conversations, those offers, we did our due diligence, and ultimately we just felt like Cam is a player that we weren't going to let go anywhere else except here to Tennessee. So we arrived at that consensus. It took a lot of work to get there, and I don't think at any point since we made that decision, there's really wasn't any conversations past that. You know, I said it before that I think when you have an opportunity to add a caliber of quarterback like Cam, those things are priceless. There's no price you put on that from draft capital standpoint because those players end up being what you think they're capable of. Those picks don't matter when it comes to, you know, future picks and draft capital because he's got the ability to be a really fantastic quarterback.
When Willie heard that last week, it set him off, right?
Yeah, and that is a sort of and that wasn't his decision alone, right?
No,
that was
of course
the organizational decision. I think that's a crazy thing to say that all of there's got to be a number of picks. We're going to give you the Ricky Williams, our whole draft, or we're going to give you the next 5 first-round picks. There's got to be a number of picks that do matter as much as you believe in Cam Ward. But one thing I've always, like you, we enjoy listening to Brian Callahan talk football because he doesn't give you the short, terse, the extreme example, of course, is Bill Belichick, right? Mike Vrabel is somewhere towards Bill Belichick and not the other end of the spectrum would be Barry Trotz, right? Very descriptive, going to try to tell you a sincere answer to the question to the best of his ability. But with that, I think sometimes Brian Callahan can put himself in a position where he's over-promising with a rebuilding franchise. And I think we're going down this road again with Cam Ward, where we're building him up a little from the team standpoint, building him up a little too quickly. And you're not controlling the expectations. And you know that your roster is very flawed. He's going to go into a very difficult environment when he takes the field in week 1 to succeed. And I think looking back on it, you can look at some of these articles. We pulled up the Albert Breer article, and there's some examples of him, I think, sort of over-promising and under-delivering. And that's something that a coach can control, but you have to be kind of a jerk to do it. You have to be less media-friendly to do it.
I'm going to read you a quote from Brian Callahan, and then I'm going to tell you who this quote is about. Quote, "He has real talent, real ability, and I think he's got a chance to be a very good starting quarterback in the NFL. He's got enough tools to where his ceiling is high. If he's all the things mentally you need to be to play quarterback, his physical talent, it's a high ceiling. He's got a chance to be a really, really good top-end starting quarterback, and I believe that. The scouts still do their due diligence and put grades on guys and all that. I had a conversation with, I'm omitting the name here. Part of it was if he's coming out in this draft class, I don't know that I feel like anybody is better than him at this point." Who is he talking about?
Oh man, I would say Joe Burrow.
That was
Will
Brian
Levis.
Callahan on Will Levis last May in an article by Albert Breer. And yesterday we talked about the Albert Breer story on Cam Ward. That was Brian Callahan to Albert Breer on Will Levis.
Okay, so go back through the quote again. Now that everybody knows it's Will Levis,
I'll
he's
read the
talking
whole
about.
quote.
This was last May.
This
right?
this was less than a year ago.
And this is Will Levis had already played in the league, right? We'd already seen a glimpse the year before Brian Callahan became the coach.
So here's the whole quote. Now I won't admit anything. The first part of the quote was, I had told Rand the truth. If I had said that, it would have been a dead giveaway. I had told Rand the truth. I said he has real talent, real ability, and I think he's got a chance to be a very good starting quarterback in the NFL. He's got enough tools to where his ceiling is high. If he's all the things mentally you need to be to play quarterback, his physical talent, it's a high ceiling. He's got a chance to be a really, really good top-end starting quarterback, and I believe that. The scouts still do their due diligence and put grades on guys and all that. I had the conversation with Rand. Part of it was like, if Will's coming out in this draft class, I don't know that I feel like anybody is better than him at this point. End quote.
He was talking about last year's draft when he first got there last year.
This quote was from May of 2024.
So I guess comparing Will Levis
to Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams and
Yeah.
Drake May.
So this is where I'm going with this, where I think he's better served of playing it down the middle, as boring as that can be, even if he really truly believed that, which I'm sure he did, right? I think he's honest, but I think you maybe too optimistic is how I would say, right?
But but he told the truth. What he said.
But how does that?
No.
But you build up. Well, just like Amy Adams in the press release, we've got this great group of young players. We've got an exciting young quarterback. This is before she hired Brian Callahan, and then Callahan builds that narrative even more on Will Levis when he was really not. He was not meant to be built up like that.
But he did not lie with what he said, because what he said are the same things that every other scout. Maybe not that he would have been drafted, high in the draft with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Not that part, but everything else that he said is true. But we are missing that one sentence that sort of would have tied it all together mentally. He said if he's mentally, that's what you miss in all of that talking, because you're looking at, he has the ability to be a top-end quarterback, this and that. But the key component in that whole thing is the mentality, the mental part. And what did Brian Callahan say during the season? He said Will Levis from the classroom to the practice field was great, but it was from the practice field to the game field where there was a disconnect mentally.
Yes.
So everything that he said was correct. He said nothing that we hadn't heard before. When they got Will Levis, they said all these things about him.
And you can make that distinction. And I think that's a great point by you. I agree with you. But most people are going to hear it in a different way.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you can control that with the media. We go back to the expectations of last year when they can be competitive. They can be competitive. They should have tempered expectations in my mind. But these are I think this is a learning thing for Brian Callahan as he becomes a coach in the league, because I think he can be a really good coach.
And you used the example
how
yesterday.
you use the media is a skill.
You used an example yesterday about Jalen Harrell. Jalen Harrell was a 7th-round pick of the Titans last year, an outside linebacker. And you recalled a quote from Callahan about Jalen Harrell.
It was during training camp. I was at a practice. I think it was a Saturday morning practice, and I was hanging around because a lot of times during the week we're doing our show while the podium stuff's going on, or we play it back on our show. But I had an opportunity to sit there and listen to all the interviews. And somebody, I think, just asked, it wasn't even about Jalen Harrell specifically. Somebody asked, is there anybody jumping out at you right now who's got a chance to surprise some people? And I can guarantee you Mike Vrabel would not have bit on that at all. He would have said, well, some guys are doing it. I mean, he might throw a guy a bone here and there, but it would be tempered with hey, he hadn't done it yet, right? There was definitely a resistance. Brian Callahan brought up Jalen Harrell, and he went into a long answer about hey, we may have found a 3-down edge rusher in the 7th round. The guy does everything right. The coaches are all raving about him, all of these things. And I think that's another example of putting, in my mind, okay, now Jalen Harrell's on my radar. And what happened during the season? He really was underwhelming, he looked like a 7th-round draft pick. He's a guy who's on the team. Maybe he'll make a jump this year, and I hope he does. And Brian Callahan will say, I told you Jalen Harrell was going to be good. But it certainly was underwhelming. So I think sometimes in the business side, a lot of times you say you want to underpromise and over-deliver to your clients. I think sometimes he's over-promising and he's risking under-delivering, especially when the Titans roster right now has got holes everywhere.
And as you said, Willie, this was, in your opinion, a major issue with the Titans last season, is that they were trying to sell that they were going to be a competitive team, which they absolutely were not. And the glowing language about Cam Ward, and as we were talking about before, Titans fans hope that he makes this team super exciting. But the last thing you want to do, to talk about what we talked about at the beginning of the show, is put so much on him that you are setting him up to fail by raising the expectations even higher than they already should.
But I don't think no organization goes in when they draft really a quarterback. Let's not put anybody else in this category, because even if you draft an offensive lineman or a running back or receiver number 1 overall, it's not like drafting a quarterback. When you draft a quarterback number 1 overall, every franchise, all 32 of them, are going to speak glowingly of their quarterback at the podium. That's just the way it is. They're not going to get up there and it's going to be some somber type of deal. They're going to make sure that, hey, listen, they want you to be as excited as they were drafting him. That's what that's the energy that they're putting out. So to ask them to temper it is counterproductive to what they want to do.
It's tough.
You
It's
seem
tough.
like, yeah,
it's tough.
because you want to get the fans excited about this, about Cam Ward.
They are excited. They are excited about him. They're clearly excited. They turned down a boatload of picks.
But they want the
draft
fan
him.
base to be that excited as well.
But that's a two-way. There's two sides to that coin.
Exactly. Yeah.
And last year, I think they really wanted Will Levis to be good. They thought he was going to be pretty good. I thought he would be all right. I didn't think he was going to be.
Yeah.
Nobody thought he would be that bad, ineffective, right? Nobody. But they also had some expectation that, hey, if Will Levis hits, they could be a pretty good team, right? I think it's sometimes this is why I think a lot of coaches don't set the bar. They want to keep the bar low because you'd rather be viewed as an overachiever rather than the guy who says I think we're gonna be good. I think we're gonna, and then when you disappoint, it comes back to haunt you, the coach. He's the guy that's going to take the rap.
Well, they're trying to. They put him as a 4th-string quarterback right now.
There is going to be a competition, supposedly.
He's a 4th-string quarterback right now, man. So.
No. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I do think, and to the credit of Mike Borgonzi, and we'll talk more about Mike Borgonzi tomorrow. I think to the credit of Mike Borgonzi, I think unlike his predecessor, he has done a good job of tempering expectations. Rand Carthon, I believe, was a part of the problem last year with we checked every box, which we can't say on this show normally because of that clip. I banned it from the program. But I think that Mike Borgonzi has done a good job of sort of leveling things in a way that Rand Carthon did not.
I think he's a little better at saying, look, we're still a long way roster-wise from where we're going to need to be. He just came from Kansas City. He's seen what their roster is, how smart they've played it. He knows in the AFC, you got some tough teams. And the roster right now in Tennessee does not compare. It doesn't compare. So be careful how you build expectations.
615-737-1025. We will take your thoughts on that. But coming up next, we need to take a segment to talk about the most scrutinized couple in sports right now. I think that's one way you could put it. The most interesting couple in sports, perhaps. We'll do that next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063. The Game.
The other change for Belichick is 24-year-old Jordan Hudson, his creative muse, as he writes in his book.
Make sure that that's the.
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No.
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
That was a clip from Bill Belichick's interview on CBS Sunday Morning. That was his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, interjecting in that clip. And within the past few minutes, Bill Belichick has released a statement about this interview. Quote, I agreed to speak with CBS Sunday Morning to promote my new book, The Art of Winning, Lessons from My Life in Football. Prior to this interview, I clearly communicated with my publicist at Simon & Schuster that any promotional interviews I participated in would agree to focus solely on the contents of the book. Unfortunately, that expectation was not honored during the interview. I was surprised when unrelated topics were introduced, and I repeatedly expressed to the reporter, Tony DeCopel, and the producers that I preferred to keep the conversation centered on the book. After this occurred several times, Jordan, with whom I share both a personal and professional relationship, stepped in to reiterate that point to help refocus the discussion. She was not deflecting any specific question or topic, but simply doing her job to ensure the interview stayed on track. Some of the clips make it appear as though we were avoiding the question of how we met, but we have been open about that fact that Jordan and I met on a flight to Palm Beach in 2021. The final 8-minute segment does not reflect the productive 35-minute conversation we had, which covered a wide range of topics related to my career. Instead, it presents selectively edited clips and stills from just a few minutes of the interview to suggest a false narrative that Jordan was attempting to control the conversation, which is simply not true. And on top of this, there was a report from The Athletic today, because remember, North Carolina was supposed to be the subject of Hard Knocks this offseason, and that project was scrapped. The Athletic reported Wednesday that Jordan Hudson played a quote-unquote instrumental role in the show being audibled away from North Carolina. The Athletic citing industry sources, according to The Athletic, she requested to be quote-unquote heavily involved with the project. So I know a lot of the focus on Bill Belichick and his girlfriend is the massive age difference. Again, she's 24. He's what, in his 70s? So it's less about that for me. I know that's the thing that people want to focus in on. It's the fact that this legendary micromanager is being micromanaged by a woman who is 50 years his junior. I just find it so interesting, this relationship. Again, less about the age difference itself, because, hey, good for you, man. But she's clearly into him for his personality. But I digress. I just find it interesting that Bill Belichick, who was in, she's even being CC'd on his work emails, I think. Like, it's just,
she is.
It's a strange situation.
Okay, so let's throw it to the journalist. My journalistic question back to you, Adam. Because we've had this discussion before when Rand Carthon went on and did an interview, and certain subjects were not broached, and it clearly was agreed upon on the front end. We're not going to go there, right? Is it reasonable for CBS, Tony DeCoppola, who was a Met fan, by the way?
I was waiting for you to mention that.
Doesn't ask about her in that interview, even though on the front end, the publishers can say, oh, you can only ask about the book. You can only ask about the book. How do you feel about that? Because Belichick, if he was told by CBS, okay, we're okay with that, and still gets surprised by the question. He said he was surprised. He probably shouldn't be surprised, but from a journalistic angle, how do you feel about that?
I never liked the idea of I will agree to an interview only on these terms. Like, his relationship,
you'd rather not do the interview.
Right. His relationship with this woman is all over the place. It's on the tabloids.
Yes,
it's a huge talking point. I think that Tony DeCopel would have been doing himself a disservice, a journalistic disservice, if he did not even attempt to broach the subject of his relationship, which is, again, public. They're on Instagram together. This is not just a rumor.
And she works for him. She works with him.
Right. So to me, and by the way, Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk reported that that was not the only interjection that she had in that interview. According to Florio, CBS Sunday Morning put one of them in there to highlight an instance of her interjecting into the conversation. Reportedly, that was not the only time she did that. But again, I just find it interesting that a 24-year-old woman has this much sway that apparently HBO pulled out of Hard Knocks because she wanted to be more heavily involved in the project.
Well, as an Asian individual, listen, this is just me. It's just the way I feel. I don't know how y'all. It's nasty. That's just no, point blank. It's just, you met the girl 4 years ago. She was 19 years old.
Well, so she's 24. They met in
20,
2021, which means she would have been 20 or 21 when they met.
Depending on the birthday and what month this flight took
It's
place.
just you're old enough to be a grandfather. There's nothing much y'all have in common other than her now running, being the middle person for you, someone that's probably more assertive than you in a sense, younger, more vibrant, more energetic. So she becomes the bad person in a sense. I'm not saying that she's a bad person. In general, I'm just saying she becomes like the bad person. She becomes the no person when he does it. So people, because what he's trying to do is reshape his image. He doesn't want to say no to anything. So now she's the no person. People can be mad at Bill Belichick now. His image is starting to be remade, because he wants to. Coaching at UNC is great, but he wants to get back in the NFL. Why? Because he wants that record of Don Shula. But my thing is, this is completely, and I mean completely, just in absolute, I detest the story. He's 50 years older than this woman. And it's not like, she's in her 30s or 40s. She's a kid, period. She's a kid, y'all. And people like it all. No, he should be ashamed of himself. He should be.
They are adults.
It doesn't matter.
So that's okay.
No, she's a kid. She is a kid. A 50, 60-year-old guy tried dating my daughter. Try coming to my door and you're 50 years old.
And how old is your daughter?
My daughter's, and she's 26.
Okay.
But especially when she was 20, show up at my door, 50, 70 something years old. Don't get your, kid. That's what no, seriously. You have nothing in common with my daughter. You have nothing in common with my daughter whatsoever.
But the interesting thing in this story,
So I don't have
Athletic,
much outside of that to talk about the story. He let her do it. She's doing it. You can't be mad at her. I'm just like, it's like my daughter told me yesterday. I was talking to her. I was making fun of her because she's in New York. So I was giving her my New York slang.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, she was Dad, you need to stop. You're giving me the ick. So I stopped. She giving me the ick. So I stopped.
So Belichick's giving you the ick.
Belichick's giving me the ick. Yep,
okay,
absolutely.
So according to this story in The Athletic, Jordan Hudson, Belichick's girlfriend, played an instrumental role in stopping the production of Hard Knocks, related to her request to be heavily involved in the project, according to multiple industry sources briefed on the negotiations. The sources spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly. In a December 2024 email to North Carolina officials, Hudson, 24, identified herself as the chief operating officer of Belichick Productions. The Athletic has been unable to identify any company registered under that name, either in Massachusetts, where Hudson's other business entities are listed, or any other state.
Listen,
it's ick.
It's the ick.
Well,
the
real
listen,
ick for
I'm
me-
not mad. I'm not mad. Don't think I'm mad at her. I'm not mad at her whatsoever. Even though I feel, listen, come on. I know you can find somebody else a little younger. Not that old, dude, young lady. You can find somebody not that old to be dating, close to the age that is doing some things in the world. I'm sure you can find that. But hey, listen, she's doing her. But him, on the other hand, yeah, it's nasty. Give me the ick.
Okay. Well, this was another aspect of the interview on CBS that caught my attention. Tony DeCoppola asked him about the social media posts with the very artsy pictures at the beach where they're posing together. They're doing yoga. They're doing mermaids. And he asked Bill Belichick about it. And his answer was, yes, I'm on the social media, but I don't follow it. But what do you think the motivation is Because it's one thing to be dating this person.
He's
but
trying to
they're-
rehab his.
No, but is there Bill Belichick
Yeah.
is wired to win football games. Do you think this is something that they believe as an item will help North Carolina football attract players, attention, both? How do you like?
What do you mean, him?
I'm
The
saying
relationship
by
or-
going on social and being public and doing not only just saying, "Hey, here we are, we're a couple," but putting these artistic pictures out there. Is that helping them get players? Is that
I don't
the angle
know.
there?
Based upon, I mean, that's something that their PR. I'm sure they did the numbers and the analytics on it, and is it beneficial to the university? I didn't think that North Carolina was in a space where they needed to be rescued in a sense. Football wise, I know basketball, they haven't been great, but hell, they got a steep tradition in greatness at that university when it comes to basketball. But I don't see, their program being that much, in the dumps where they need, somebody to revigorate.
And I do wonder paparazzi photos.
I
Right?
do wonder
These are
if-
photos that
yes.
they chose to put out
Right.
in the manner that
Yeah.
they
So
are
what
out.
is it doing for the
I
university?
do wonder if at any point Carolina wonders, is this more trouble than it's worth? I do wonder if, even Jared,
if they start losing,
right,
if they're not winning, they're going to end it very quickly.
right, until they're starting to lose, money or recruits or until it has a tangible impact on Carolina's bottom line or their ability to win football games. I'm wondering if there are people in that building that are like, uh-oh. I mean, personally, I would love that if they imploded from the inside.
you being a Duke fan. Yeah.
But I'm wondering if at any point North Carolina thinks to itself, this is more trouble than it's worth.
They have to be on some level, right? But this is what they signed up. But see, when they signed up for Bill Belichick, could they have really looked that far ahead to think it was going to be this aspect of it, which is dominating the discussion right now? It's not. They have this 7-time Super Bowl winner as the coach of their football
I think
team.
that's what
that's
Carolina,
becoming
and again,
less of the story.
That's what Carolina wanted to focus on.
Right.
Him being the 7-time
Yeah.
Super Bowl winning head
And
coach.
now he's the CEO. He's going to build this
Exactly.
thing here. That's what Bill Belichick sold them on. And now we have this aspect.
And the
of it.
one thing I want, it would be one thing again if he was just dating a woman significantly younger than him, she was not in the line, like she was not in the
Yeah.
public eye. He just had a significantly younger girlfriend. We would all sort of look at it like, huh, but we wouldn't think too much of it otherwise. It's the fact that she seems to have so much invested in him and playing a key role in his business dealings, being CC'd on his work emails and interjecting into CBS interviews. That's the part that's interesting to me. It's not just that he has a young girlfriend. He has a young girlfriend who seems to have her claws.
She's his handler. He has a young girlfriend that's his handler. She is the middle person. She is the guy that he wants you to go through now in order to get to him. She is the guy. There's a reason why the NFL at first they were getting the deal done, and all of a sudden, the deal was nixed at the last hour. Why? Because she wanted to be interjected in it. She wanted to be a part of it. Why? Because he allowed her to do that for whatever reason. That's not my gripe. Listen, if he wants her, and I can get her being, he wants her to run the social media. She's young, she's hip, she knows, the lingo and all this other stuff. She knows how it functions and operate. So I can understand her being around for that and some other things. I get that part. I don't care about that part. That part, it happens. The part that I focus on is you give me the ick, dude. You just give me the ick, and I can't get past that.
Charles Barkley we don't have time to play the clip, but Charles Barkley was on the Dan Patrick show. He was asked about this. He said, quote, "He's been a great friend of mine for a long time. I never talk about people's personal relationships. That's a rule I have. But I will admit I'm a little concerned with some of the stuff going on, and I might actually reach out to him." That was Charles Barkley, apparently, on Bill Belichick on the Dan Patrick show.
Well,
let's circle back, though, to the initial story, and that is they have a problem. Like the Belichick crew has a problem with this line of question. Doesn't want to even be asked about it. But like when you put it out there on social media, you're inviting everybody
Yes.
to ask about it. The question was not, hey, why did you do this? It was like, hey, what's the reaction? Yeah,
Right.
It was a simple question, but he would not answer it.
615-737-1025. By the way, I see all of your texts. There is a word to describe what Bill Belichick probably is. The word whipped is in it. It begins with a P. I can't say it on the air. 615-737-1025. We'll bring Jared Stillman into this because I'm curious what Jared will have to say about this because we know how much Jared loves the Patriots, the Patriot way. He idolizes the Patriots.
Get a gold star.
I want to hear what Jared has to say
Gold
about that.
standard.
And we'll do that next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vinky, 1025-1063, The Game.
All right, everybody, let's talk Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto wants you to know that if you're one of the thousands and thousands of people that might be a little bit concerned about your finances in these crazy times, and maybe you've got some bills, you're not putting a dent in that car payment, that credit card payment that keeps piling up because of the high interest rate, Loan Pronto wants you to know you've got options there. Loan Pronto has options for helping you tap into the home equity that you have if you're a homeowner to get cash out and put yourself on better, solid footing financially. Most homeowners that end up doing this through Loan Pronto end up wiping out that credit card debt, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,000 on average. That's something you need to look into. You don't have to keep stressing about money. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. Fast debt relief now. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. That's loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. NMLS, consumeraccess.org.
D. Mace, Fingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan out here at Ascent Buildings, 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. They are interviewing and hiring on the spot through 3 p.m. Welders, fitters, machine operators, material handlers. Come on out. If you're looking for work, this is the place to get it. They are here until 3 p.m. Let's bring our good friend Jared Stillman into this conversation. Jared, we know how much you love the New England Patriots and the Patriot way and how you've idolized Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I'm wondering if this Bill Belichick, Jordan Hudson, North Carolina stuff, if any of the luster is being rubbed off of Bill Belichick in your mind.
Well, I think you used the wrong word, the wrong verb to describe how I felt about the Patriot way, because you said that I love the Patriot way. And the reality is I loved the Patriot way.
Okay, past tense.
At one point in time, probably around 2022, 2023, realized that the Patriot way was a complete and total farce. It was a crock of baloney. And that Mike Mularkey said this when he got fired. He did the podcast where he kind of called out the Titans for interviewing Ray Horton when he knew he wasn't going to get the job. And Mularkey said that he got fired because the general manager came from New England. And in New England, they think there's some sort of secret formula, which really is getting lucky and drafting Tom Brady. And I chuckled at that when I saw it. But I think the reality is that the Patriot way was just, it was Fugazi. It was Brady. And Brady goes to Tampa with Bruce Arians, who could not be further away from the Patriot way. And he wins a Super Bowl. And he wins a Super Bowl in an organization that, again, had a former Patriot GM, but is pretty anti-Patriots in the way they do business. They allow him to get his buddies. He brings in Gronk. He brings in Antonio Brown. They win the Super Bowl. They're very close the next year. And Belichick, I think that this has broken Bill Belichick's brain. Like, I believe that, you know, when we talk about old people and kind of losing it and taking away their card keys, like, Bill's lost it. He's lost it. Like, he's completely lost it. And it's not just this. Like, to me, I still cannot get over the idea. Mac Jones had a Pro Bowl season as a rookie, and they went to the playoffs, and he had a good first season, and Josh McDaniels takes the Raiders job, and Belichick makes Matt Patricia a defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator of the team. And if anything, that was Belichick, I believe, who had been broken by Brady's success in Tampa Bay, trying to prove that I'm still Bill Belichick. I'm still the genius. It's still me. And I think it got worse and worse. And as it got worse on the field, Bill, you know, just completely broke down. And now he's dating this woman. And it's not so much like, I heard what Derek was saying about the ick surrounding the age difference and Jordan Hudson and everything else. And like the idea of Bill and that, you know, like old wrinkly skin and belly.
Okay, we don't have to go that far.
that is a little too much for me. But here's the thing. Bill Belichick, for years and years and years, the hallmark of that crock of baloney Patriot way, Bill Belichick for years was Mr. No Distraction, Mr. Football all the time, Mr. Hey, you don't need to talk about who we should draft because you've never evaluated players before. You stay in your lane. And he's sitting here hiring somebody to help him out in his interviews. He's been doing interviews with CBS longer than this woman has been alive. What happened to Bill? Like, Bill, would you have allowed Tom Brady to bring Giselle in as his personal coach and have her go around the locker room and tell everybody what to do? Of course not. So, like, the foundation of what made Bill Belichick, it's gone. And I don't know how we can ever look back on Bill Belichick with what's happened the last 5 years, you know, since Brady left, with a yes, but. I don't know about you guys. I considered Belichick the greatest coach of all time. I now would put Walsh and Shula ahead of him. I don't Lombardi probably ahead of him, but I think this absolutely hurts Belichick's resume and his what do you call it? His
legacy.
Yeah, his legacy. Yeah, it hurts his legacy long term.
My question for you, Jared, and you tweeted something to this effect. Do you think at any point North Carolina is like, this is more trouble than it's worth?
So one of my friends from college is the offensive coordinator at Oregon, Will Stein, and we kind of grew up together and everything else. And I really want him to get a head coaching job, and I think he's done a good job as the offensive coordinator at Oregon the last couple of years. I think we can all agree with that. And when this was going down, I kept thinking, like, okay, if I was the athletic director at North Carolina,
Bubba,
and my options, Bubba, who, by the way, he's not perfect himself either, with that
Bubba Cunningham
$100,000 from making the tournament, but I digress. If my options were Bill Belichick as head coach of my college football program or Will Stein, I mean, 99% of the people would tell you Bill Belichick. They would say, you got to go hire Bill Belichick. I mean, that's Bill Belichick. Nobody knows who Will Stein is. Bill Belichick. And yet I knew in my heart that hiring Will Stein, again, an up-and-coming college football coach, you would be better off going that route than you would be with Bill Belichick. I think Carolina probably already regrets the decision to hire Belichick. I mean, again, it's nothing but bull crap, and they have to win. And the Hard Knocks thing, which would have been great exposure for their program, she completely railroaded, according to The Athletic. I think that UNC, I think this is going to be one and done. And after the year's over, Belichick and Carolina are going to, what did he say in the CBS thing about Robert Kraft? Decide to mutually part ways. I think this is one and done for Belichick at Carolina, and I don't think he'll coach again after this.
Yeah, I think, once they get into the season, he started losing. And there may be some even within the building that are hoping that they start losing so they can get, away from this contract as quickly as possible. Because I don't think when they hired Bill, they hired this person as well. And again, I have nothing against this young lady whatsoever. And if Bill wants her to run his whole life, then so be it. He's getting to an age where he's going to start needing help. So
like now,
it seems like his kids ain't helping him. So he has this young lady helping him. But again, it just gives me the ick, and I don't want to go no further than that.
Well, I asked Adam this question to ask you. Mm-hmm. If this were Jeff Fisher or Brian Billick, and it were looking like they were making this much of an ass out of themselves publicly, the way, I mean, this is a joke. Like, it's actually a joke. Would you, Derek Mason, pick up the phone and call Brian Billick, call Jeff Fisher and say, Coach, man, what are you doing here? Would you do that if this was your coach?
If this was my coach and I had a relationship with him like that, then yeah, I think I would be able to if we had that type of relationship.
I think Tom Brady needs to pick up the phone.
But do they have that type of relationship?
Again, I've got to believe that if Tom picks up the phone and says, Bill, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? I did that roast and it was a bad idea for my family or whatever. And Giselle got impregnated by my jiu-jitsu trainer and it's embarrassing, but what are you doing, Bill? I wonder, can Tom get through to Bill? And if Tom can't get through to Bill, then nobody's getting through to Bill.
Tom ain't call it. Tom can't call Bill. And Bill
Tom might be enjoying this, to be honest with you.
Exactly. Tom, he might hang up the phone.
The coach-player relationship can be a lot of different things.
That's what
a lot of different things. So it's not always a confidant.
Exactly.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't.
And that's why I said it depends on what type of relationship we have.
Right. So let me ask you, Jared, your theory, because it is so un-Belichickian to go public with the Instagram and these crazy photos. Crazy. Who's to say what's crazy, what's not crazy? But these
out of character.
But you would think Bill Belichick, everything is calculated, right? Do you think he believes that these things that are getting all this attention are helping him get good football players?
You too can date a 24-year-old.
I don't think Bill Belichick even knows that those pictures on Instagram became public. Like, I think he took the picture and did not think they were doing that for Instagram. Like, I think she was like, oh, Bill, it'll be so funny. And he said, yes, dear. And he took the picture and he has no idea. I mean, you think Belichick has Instagram on his phone? You think Belichick?
I think, yes. No. I think he knows what Instagram does, what social media does.
But he lets her handle it.
Social media is a big factor in recruiting.
But he lets her handle it.
He knows that.
But he lets her handle it.
He does let her handle it. But he has to be sold that this is going to help him get football players. Or she sold him on it. So he signed off on it.
I think
I'm just really curious about that aspect because that is so un-Belichickian back in the day. Right?
This is just for me, this is just ass backwards for Bill Belichick. It's like, he doesn't, I don't even see, honestly,
he's having a midlife crisis at 70-something years old.
I don't even know why he went to the college ranks. I get it because
nobody wanted him in the NFL anymore.
He wanted to rehab his image. Nobody's still going to hire him.
Here's the thing.
He wants that record. He wants Don Shula's record, and he's not going to get it.
Yeah, that's over. We have, I think, all had a relationship, over a 7-8 year period. Willie much longer, Derek even longer with the late Floyd Reese. And there's a lot of times where I'm like, man, I wonder what Floyd would think. But this might take the cake over the last 3 or 4 years since Floyd's been gone, where I've been like, and the Nico transferring to UCLA was definitely up there where I was like, oh man,
Yes.
Floyd would hate this. But this, it's like, I do wonder, like, what would Floyd say with all of this? Like, how embarrassed would Floyd say, like, Bill, what are you doing? Like, what would I wonder every day.
That'll do it for us today. We thank Ascent Buildings for having us today. Some wonderful, wonderful hosts. They are interviewing and hiring on the spot through 3 o'clock at 214 Fountainhead Road in Portland. So come on out if you're looking for work. Welders, fitters, machine operators, material handlers, $20 to $25 an hour, paid weekly, benefits on the first day. We will be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Snow and the Company coming up next.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful Wednesday. Peace.